Today we hear the image of the Good Shepherd. I'd like to share with you a few thoughts. Father Bill O'Brien, who's celebrating today, he's the director, here of our Central Association of the Miraculous Medal, and I were classmates, and we went up to Niagara over the weekend and had a wonderful celebration with our classmate, Father Joseph Levesque, who spent many years at Niagara, celebrating a very powerful celebration of his 50th anniversary of ordination to the priesthood. And on the way, Father Bill and I were listening to some tapes describing John's Gospel. And I was very struck at what the preacher was saying about John putting emphasis not on the apostles. In fact, he never uses the word apostle, but his emphasis is on the disciple. And the beloved disciple is the great example for us. Early in the gospel, we encounter an individual whose name is not mentioned. Along with Andrew, he was a disciple of John the Baptist. And John said to them, "Behold the Lamb of God," pointing out Jesus, "who takes away the sins of the world." And the two of them left John the Baptist and approached Jesus, at first from a distance. And Jesus responded to their question, "Where are you living?" And Jesus says to them, "Come and see." So you have the introduction of the beloved disciple, not yet named in the gospel. As the gospel moves forward, he draws closer and closer to Jesus, and at the Last Supper, he is the one sitting, reclining next to Jesus, whom Peter asks to inquire who's going to betray him. So what he does, he leans to the side and puts his ear to the heart of Jesus. Beautiful image for us to take with us, listening to the heart of Jesus. And because of the way they were positioned, reclining at table, he was looking in the same direction as Jesus. So once we listen to the heart of Jesus and understand what God is asking of us, we look out at the people whom the Lord loves. In the second choice of a gospel for today, Jesus goes on to say, "I am the good shepherd. A good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep." And later in the scene where they're at table, John in the gospel says, Jesus loved his own and he loved them to the end. That's the great example for us as beloved disciples, to love people the way the Master has loved them, to put our ear to the heart of Jesus and listen to what he tells us as we look out to the world around us. And it's interesting in this second gospel, which we did not hear today, Jesus goes on to say, "I have other sheep that do not belong to this fold. These also I must lead, and they will hear my voice, and there will be one flock, one shepherd." Jesus loved the disciples to the end and poured his life out for us on the cross. And he's telling us, I am the good shepherd, and I'm searching for sheep that don't yet belong to this fold. And for us as disciples who are called to be like the beloved disciple, hearing what Jesus is telling us from the power of his heart that was open for us to be redeemed on the cross, and he's asking us to reach out to all these other sheep that are not yet of our fold. We see an example of that in the first reading, where Peter reached out to the non-Jewish community. Well, the same is true today. You and I must not be insular in our Catholic sense of ourselves. Yes, we're privileged, but part of what we're about is to look out as Christ himself, the Good Shepherd, looks out to all the sheep that are not yet part of this fold. Some of them perhaps relatives, who aren't practicing their faith, many people we know who are not even Christian, people of other world religions. The Lord poured out his life's blood from his sacred heart to atone for the sins of all of them. And you and I, in imitation of the beloved disciple, are called to pay attention to what the Good Shepherd is telling us, that there are many more people that needed to be added to this flock, and we must do our part to bring in the sheep for whom the Master has died. Every living human being that we know, their sins are atoned, and they need to hear the good news about this Good Shepherd who manifested such great love for his disciples and loved all of us to the end.